You are now listening to Bull Hook Golf, an unfiltered golf podcast taking you inside the ropes with unfiltered stories, insights, analysis, and exclusive interviews. Welcome back, everybody, to Bull Hook Golf, the podcast. This is episode number 58. I'm Matt Cook. This is Bobby Brown. We've got our RBC Heritage recap, which was a phenomenal tournament. Then we've got the upcoming Zurich Classic, where the PGA Tour becomes a team event. And lastly, really kind of the headliner here is the upcoming LIV Golf Adelaide. Hopefully I said that correctly. I know our Australian listeners will go ahead and correct me on that one. Let me know if I got that one right or wrong at the Grange. Is it the Grange? Hang on.
I don't even know much
course,
about
Bobby?
Grange, maybe?
The Grange? We're gonna have to figure that one out by the end of the
Sorry,
episode.
Sorry, Aussie fans.
I might as well
take
take
about it.
a sip of our title sponsor of this episode, Mr. Bushwood Spirits. So thank you for the glass here. And if you haven't done it yet, we've got that promo code PULLHOOK for 10% off your order at Bushwood Spirits. So enjoy a drink and have one on us with the 10% off. So let's start off, Bobby, with the RBC Heritage recap. You were there this week. How was it playing out there?
Well, it was Hilton Head. It was, it's everything you expected. It actually ended up playing a little bit easier because we had a couple rainstorms that came in and we really didn't get a ton of wind, depending on what wave you were on. Our wave wasn't the greatest. We ended up getting some wind, but it was kind of hit and miss. But the whole deal to this golf course is, even if it's only blowing 8 to 10, it's tough to play on. It's tough to caddy on because you hit a shot, you make a commitment, and you're at the mercy of the gust that you're going to get. But it was playing a little bit softer. I think that's why I think those two playoff scores got to 17 under. I think usually between 12 and 14, which is a good test of golf out here. Usually gets it done, but they did soften up a little bit. And, hey, how many times have I said it? The cream rises to the top. Matt Fitzpatrick gets it done over Jordan in a playoff. Jordan won a playoff last year. Jordan played great. He had two makeable putts, the two putts that you want really on the first two playoff holes to get it done. And look, obviously the first one on 18 definitely looked like it was going in, and the second one looked like it was going in too. And then Fitz stuffs that thing to 6 inches or 8 inches or whatever, and that's all she wrote. But man, it's just a great golf course. Anytime you get something that's 7,000 yards and you got to hit shots, and it takes driver out of a lot of guys' hands strategy wise out here. It's just fun to be at Hilton Head. There's so many people. They get so excited. The tournament sells out fast. Everybody's in a festive mood, so to speak. It's the good old South. And I think this was the 51st edition or 52nd edition. That's a long time. That's a long time for a tournament. And it's got, there's obviously a lot of history here with some serious past champions. But congratulations to Matt Fitzpatrick. Like I said, the cream rises to the top. He takes down Spieth in the playoff. Patrick Cantlay right there gets beat one shot, made a couple bogeys late. Obviously had that disaster on 14 there where he chipped that thing into the bulkhead and made bogey. Xander finished fourth, got beat 2 shots, 15 under. Saif Theegala, 14 under T5. Hayden Buckley threw up another good one. Shot makers were in there. They didn't necessarily really had a chance to win, but when you get a guy like our guy Brian Harmon is back, perfect golf course for him. Emiliano Grillo played great. He shot 3 under, 13 under. He's a shot maker. Sungjae, no surprise. Thank you very much. Sungjae at 13 under. He made a nice little run, and he made a couple bogeys late, true to form, like he usually does. Who else was in there at 13 under? Cam Davis, another shot maker that we rave about all the time. Scottie Scheffler got beat 5 shots. Not a bad week. T11. Taylor
Especially
Moore
when you
was
can't putt.
Especially when you can't putt, when you're not putting, and that's the deal. That's the deal with Scottie, right now. But it's still not a bad deal. I mean, it's a $20 million purse. It's an upgraded designated event, whatever you want to call it. But those guys coming from the Masters had to be a little bit tired, no doubt. So, Taylor Moore finished in there at 12 under too. He got his first win this year, and he's continuing the good play. Really good group at tied for 15th. Jon Rahm, after that not great first round where he admittedly said he was pretty tired, got it going and threw up a couple 66s, I think, and a 69. 69 splattered in there somewhere. Sam Burns, Terrell Hatton, Ricky Fowler, all T15. Another stack leaderboard on the PGA Tour for a $20 million purse. JT struggling a little bit, barely made the cut, finished tied for 25th at 9 under, and you got to think he's feeling the pressure, but we are coming up to the PGA Championship here soon where he seems to play at his best, so hopefully he'll be all geared up for that, but he's not playing his best. You missed the cut at the Masters.
You hate to see
it. You kind of like to see it though a little bit. You know, I guess he's just normal like everybody else, but it was another great week on the PGA Tour. This was our last designated event other than the playoffs, really, wasn't it? I should know that.
So.
I caddy on the PGA Tour. Yeah. So, here we move back to $9 and $10 million purses, which aren't too bad. Obviously, we're in Zurich this week for that unique team event, and we got a lot of golf to go this year, Matt. Lots of golf.
We do have a lot of golf, and I'm going to start off with a caddy question for you. Do you think JT and Bones are a good fit because they talk through?
Yeah.
But you look at JT's former caddy, right? They didn't talk through shots nearly as much. JT just went out and played golf, and now it's like they're analyzing every shot. Do you think JT's the type of guy who can work every type of shot possible? And if not, is Bones really doing? I mean, Bones acts with him like Phil Mickelson, and they talk through everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a little bit of an analyzation that I see.
No, that's a good question. It's easy to ask that question when with a player with that kind of talent is off form, so to speak. I just don't think he's swinging that good. You know, I was scrolling through social media a couple of days ago, and I landed on this video of him at Augusta on 13T. Was either the first round or the second round because obviously he missed the cut, but he had hit a bad drive, dropped an F-bomb, was talking to the ball the whole way, and then I heard him say something like "nice fucking swing" or something like that. So he's probably frustrated with his action right there. But your question is a legitimate question. Jimmy Johnson, his former caddy, is he's working for Schwartzel now. He was the one who left JT for reasons I don't know, but reasons that I think that he was probably tired. JT's old dad, Mike, super nice guy, is very hands-on and that kind of stuff. And I think Jimmy is probably at the point of his career where he's like, hey, this was a good run, but I'm not really that happy with all the elements of this team, so to speak. This is my own opinion, and I'm going to make a move. So we just thought he retired. He's actually working for Schwartzel now on the LIV Tour, which is not a bad go for a guy that's got a bunch of money.
I didn't know that it was his decision and not JT's.
Yeah, it was his. No, it was his. It was Jimmy's. Definitely Jimmy's for sure. That I 100% know. But getting back to the Bones thing, I mean, that's
Bones is a legend. No doubt.
He's a legend. But remember, we've been kind of talking about this, that if you're JT and you're, I don't think Bones is as been happy, smiley as he has been as I've known him in previous years. So obviously there is a lot of pressure going on that team to win golf tournaments, and to, that kind of talent is probably expected to win 3 or 4 times a year on tour. The talent's getting better, that's for sure. The talent pool is getting better, other than the mega stars or the mega used to be stars that we lost to LIV, but they're probably just feeling some pressure. And when you're not, hey, listen, even the best players, even guys that are top 10 players in the world, they're not going to play great every week. But for him to miss the cut at Augusta and not play great this last one. I mean, for a guy like tied for 25th is not bad in a designated event, but for a guy like Justin Thomas, it probably is not. It probably is not great, but that's kind of how Bones caddies. He is all in there, and I haven't. It seems like they're getting along on the golf course, but I have noticed that too. There's a lot of chitter chatter going on, like that shot. I think he hit a shot from the right. They have, it was the right pine straw area on 15, that par five, and there was a lot of chitter chatter on that. He actually hit a great shot to hit it on that green in two, I believe. But yeah, I've noticed that myself too. But I don't think there's any tension there, or they're doing the wrong things. I mean, that's the same dialogue they had when they won a major championship at Southern Hills last year. So we'll see how it goes. It could just be pressure, and he's not playing that good. That's for sure. I
Yeah,
mean, you
but even
can't
the
fire your
Southern
dad as your
Hills,
swing.
I
Yeah.
agreed. But even the Southern Hills win
Mm-hmm.
wasn't it like he
A
came from
backdoor
behind?
win.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
backdoor
Yeah.
win. It
He's way
wasn't like
back.
he
Yeah.
was like
Dominating for 4 rounds.
exactly. It would be like if
Yeah.
Phil won the Masters this year, it would have been the same type of deal where he had a
Yeah.
great last final round and
Yeah.
snuck up there. And that's kind of what JT ended up doing. So
Yeah.
I don't know how much weight I put into the fact that he just had a great week. Now, granted, it's
Mhm.
golf, right? I mean, golf is
Yeah.
the beast that it is, and everybody goes through waves and so forth, which leads me back to Jordan Spieth and how he has really kind of figured it out.
Yeah.
And man, if he could end up getting that driver straightened out a little bit, I mean, he would have won
Mm-hmm.
that tournament without a problem if he had not hit the driver a little waywards at times.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he is definitely on form. I think what his last five tournaments, I don't think he's been worse than 16th place, and he's had what's he had a couple this loss of playoff, a third, a fourth at Augusta. He's definitely back on form. But if he got the driver straightened out, it wouldn't be as fun for his viewers to watch on TV,
It
drama
wouldn't.
wise, with him, right?
So
I mean, it
true.
wouldn't.
We
He's
get
the
to
most
watch all those crazy shots and all the
yeah,
recovery and
by far the most entertaining player to watch on TV. I mean, it's really not even close. Everybody else is just kind of does their thing, but his in-depth conversations and the way his brain works and his uncanny, miraculous ability to pull off these miraculous shots are just something fun to watch on TV. So when Jordan Spieth is playing good golf, it's good for golf fans and it's good for the PGA Tour because he is he's the draw, right? I mean, he's literally, I know there's Jon Rahm, everybody's the draw, all those guys that we mentioned on the leaderboard, but he's like, to me, fan wise, if I was a fan, that's the guy that I would, when Dustin was playing out here, I'm like, God, if I was a fan, I'd want to go watch Dustin play golf. And now if I would say now that Dustin's gone, I'm like, man, it's never a dull moment watching him play. And, his caddy's just one of the greatest guys you'll ever meet, Michael Greller. And he earns every penny, Remember, they went through a couple year slump, just like everybody
yes,
else,
they
but
did.
just like most people, most guys do for the most part. He went through a slump and he's fought back through it. You notice the posture difference with his putting now. He's a little bit more hunched over and he's not standing as tall. So obviously it looks like that's working. And, the driver's always been the thing with him, really, right? But he's just so good and so creative from spots that you would consider dead, so to speak, where he makes these miraculous up and downs, or like it seems like he's chipping in for par or chipping in for birdie. So he's great for the game, and he might have something to say about one of these majors coming up in the future, I would imagine.
Well, he also looks really good. I mean, in terms of like his
Yeah.
fitness, he looks healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Like he looks
Yeah.
like he's back to Jordan
Yeah.
Spieth of old. And then on top of that, he's been taking the RV around all year. So he's
Oh,
been
that's
traveling
right.
with his
That's right.
family,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
all of a sudden you start putting these little puzzle
Yeah.
pieces together. It makes a pretty big
Yeah.
difference. I mean, we saw Jason Day was doing that when he was
Yeah.
really in his full swing mode where he was playing extremely well before the back
Mm-hmm.
injury and everything. There's definitely something to be said when you got a family with a young child and being able
Yeah.
to travel around with them rather than kind of having
Sure.
that guilt that kind of follows
Yeah.
with, traveling around all the time while they're that young,
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be a little bit tough. And then also, he just hasn't got that moxie back yet. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. He's
Where,
close.
yeah, he is close. And I think he needs a couple big wins in order to
Mm-hmm.
push him back over that edge to where all of a sudden he's got that momentum and he's got that confidence because those two putts that he missed in the playoff, which
Mm-hmm.
granted, the
Yeah.
one I don't know how it didn't
Yeah.
go in. That's one of those
Right.
that is just I was miffed. I watched that playoff actually 4 times, and
Right.
just to re-see those putts again and again, and I'm just like, man, that is brutal. Like that
Yeah.
first putt should have gone in. Second putt looked really good, but didn't have the pace. But those are putts that Jordan Spieth under pressure used to make, and I
Yeah.
can't
He
wait
did.
for the Jordan Spieth with the moxie to be
Yeah.
back in full form, full confidence.
Yeah.
And that really goes to the next point, which is, or the next question, just how good is Matt Fitzpatrick?
Well, I mean, he is. I mean, he is a. I don't know where his world ranking is, but he's never been one of the big ones, right? He's never been one of the big ones, and I believe this was his first win other than U.S. Open. Technically,
Mm-hmm.
this was his first win on the PGA Tour, and
Correct.
he had not really been playing great the last month or so either. And now all of a sudden he got on form, and I think he's, I think he's one of those top 20 guys that when they get it going, they look like they're the best player in the world too, because he's resilient and he's a grinder and he works super duper hard. I mean, he takes notes on everything, he documents everything. He's very organized, he's very anal about his approach. He went from playing a semester in college or something, or a year in college at Northwestern and turned pro, and he's gained the speed, he's worked out, he's done everything possible that his brain could think of to be a better player, to be a top 20 in the world player, and he's achieved his goal. So obviously when you're a US Open champ and you come to an iconic place like this, that just cements the fact that you are knocking on the doorstep to be one of those players that we talk about on a weekly basis. And he's a great guy too. And his caddy, Billy Foster, who's caddied for all the great Europeans, Seve, Lee Westwood, is just one of the all-time. I've often talked about the personality differences between American caddies and Euro caddies, and no slam on the big USA or anything like that, but most of our, a lot of our caddies out here are a little uptight, so to speak, and I think the Euros are a little bit looser, have a little better sense of humor. I mean, Billy Foster will crack jokes during the round. You wouldn't see a guy like Bones cracking any jokes or socializing during the round. So they are a nice team. We were laughing today because a buddy of ours, Scott, we call him Sag. He actually used to work for Troy, Scott Sajnik, and had been working for Stuart Sink this year. He actually works for Grant Snedeker. Snedeker's hurt, right? So he picked up Stuart Sink until Sneds gets back, and they kind of split. Sunday night before Hilton Head, Sag got a call. My point is that Sag is actually working for Matt Fitzpatrick this week because Billy had to go home and do something. He said he had a prior engagement. I'm like, oh yeah, he probably had to go to Switzerland and move that money around that he just made 300 some thousand. Boy, I'd like to taste some of that money in those $20 million purses. This is one of those cheesy $9 million purses that you got to split with another player. So I don't really give a shit. No, I don't kidding. He's knocking on the doorstep, and like I said, he's a great young man, and it was just a great finish. It's no coincidence as it seems like this tournament ends up in a playoff almost every year. I mean, there was one the year before that with Spieth and Cantlay. I was in one with Siwoo when Satoshi Kodaira took him down. So it's just that kind of golf course which keeps the field together, and you make a little bit of a run there on a Sunday and anybody can win it because there was 8 or 10 guys within 2 or 3 shots of the lead, with an hour and a half to go. And that's exciting to me on TV. You don't
that
like those runaway 27 under pars, which really don't happen much out here anymore with our golf courses. Nobody really dominates anybody. So, we got a new format this week. The team aspect is a pretty cool thing. So we're looking forward to this week, and it's a great field. It's another great field this week other than Rombo. We've got some big time players playing this week.
Definitely got some big time players. But before we jump to the Zurich Classic, Scottie Scheffler had a bit of a meltdown
I
on
saw
Sunday.
that.
He was in the middle of the bunker and Hot Mike got him. And he was not only barking at Teddy, but he was also criticizing the golf course maintenance, saying that somebody should be fined for a ball being able to be plugged that far away from a pin.
Well, did he say fined or fired? That's the debate.
Oh,
Some people say he said fired. Okay, so number one, you don't fine the golf course
Yeah,
maintenance staff. You
exactly.
fire them. The only thing I can think of when he said, did he mention golf course maintenance
No,
staff? 'Cause I
no,
just
because
read
they
about it.
cut it. They cut
Okay,
it immediately after he goes, somebody should be fined for blah blah, blah, and then they cut it.
okay. So you know what I think? If it's fired, if the word turned out to be fired, then it's the maintenance staff. If it's fine, then it's a previous kid. He's talking about a previous caddy getting in that bunker and raking it and doing a poor raking job. But did he have an 8-iron plug or something like that? Was
Yeah.
that the deal? He had a bad shot, right? He hit a shot
Oh, it
a
was
little.
terrible.
Yeah, he hit a terrible shot, ended up in a bad spot. Those bunkers were had a lot of sand in them. But if he said fine, he was probably not happy, excuse me, with the previous rate job that was in there, which happens out here a lot more than you think. It happens to everybody where you get caddies in there that the fact is it's your responsibility as a caddy to do a good job. And there's a lot of caddies that get in there and don't really take their time and be thorough about it. Because the fact is that nobody's ever gotten mad at a caddy for taking too much time to rake a bunker ever, right? I mean, it's almost there's a technique and an art to it, and basically the best way to do it is, a lot of players will smooth out their own footprints with their feet and that kind of stuff, but you got to go in there, and you got to flip that rake upside down
Mm.
to the flat end, and then you go back and forth and you try and get it like cement and pack it in, and then you go and you slowly graze the top of it, and you got to work you work your way up to the lip or something like that, and you just I mean I you
That's a
know
question I had for you, by the way, here. It
yeah,
wasn't on our show notes, but I was going to ask you because over the weekend, I was actually thinking about this as I was raking a bunker. And I'm like, man, I don't
yeah,
know if I know the right technique to
that's
rake a
that's
bunker.
that's really that's really the way we do it 8 or 9 times
So
out
flip
of
it over, make it like
backwards,
flat in
flat
cement, and
cement,
then
yeah, yeah,
lightly go over
and
the
then
top.
lightly graze the top. And a lot of, it's frustrating. It's gotten worse as guys have brought their buddies out, but a lot of guys, divots go flying into these bunkers. I've bitched about it before. I bitched about it in the caddy room. Guys will not take their time and run in a bunker and grab a divot out, because it can happen where a ball's going to get wedged up against a divot or something like that and cause somebody some problems. Also, the track marks and the trail marks
Mm.
and the pitch mark in the bunker. You hit an iron or a fairway wood that runs through the bunker, and you can get running through these bunkers pretty hot on some of these trajectories. And to do it the right way, you got to get your your ball track out of there and just make sure that it's like painting a picture to me. I mean, I hate to say I get off on it, but I like rake a bunker and I get out of there and I'm like, oh, that's fucking good right there.
It's a piece of
My
art.
guy doesn't need me to read this bogey putt again. I need to get in there and handle that bunker the right way. So I'm just guessing that it was a poor raking job, and that's when the fine thing comes in, because guys have complained to officials before, and you can, shot tracker and shot link are so up to, you can figure out, it take you a little bit of time, but you can figure out exactly who was in that bunker at the last time if you went through the, who was next to you and tee time wise and that kind of stuff. Because it's happened before where guys have researched who's been in those bunkers before. I think the famous one was Spieth some years ago on number one at the Players Championship, and caught a bad rake job and made a bogey when he was in contention. It turned out it was Cody Gribbles, who was a teammate of Spieth, and it was Cody Gribbles' caddy, who I actually think might have been a roommate of Spieth at one time. So they were actually friends, and it's just a random story, but it just works out that way where you got to take your time. A lot of caddies rush through it because they feel like they need to be next to their player all the time and catch up to the player. But what a lot of caddies haven't figured out is, you know, you can run and catch up to your player. I'm fucking 58 years old, and when I fall behind, I run and catch up to my player. So there's ways of doing it. It's basically some caddies just really being lazy sometimes. So that's my take on it. Excuse
There
me.
you go. Well, did Jon Rahm earn your respect this week by
Yes.
playing
Yeah.
after that win? Because that
Yeah.
that was an exhausting Masters.
Yeah.
That wasn't
Yeah.
even like a normal, like when Jordan Spieth did it back in 2015 and ended up playing the RBC the following week.
Mm-hmm.
That Masters was relatively, I shouldn't say easy, but the weather was great. It was beautiful out the entire week. Like it was the wind wasn't crazy because I was out there that year in 2015. So it was just a beautiful, beautiful week. Now, all of a sudden, you've got a treacherous week. And by the way, Rory McIlroy ends up
Oh,
deciding not to go, and it costs him $3
yeah.
million, Bobby.
Yeah,
Is it
it
worth
did.
it?
I mean, I mean, $3 million is not going to change his lifestyle. I think he just said that, but I don't think the consensus among the troops and the players out here is a very positive thing for Rory right now. You know,
Especially
going
being one
back
of
on
the speaking heads of
the
the tour.
architect, speaking heads, and one of the architect, I think one of the architects on this, this anti, this battle live, whatever you want to call it, the whole thing, that all these designated events and all these persons going up was a direct reflection on LIV Golf, and he was one of the architects on this. So it probably, I don't think a lot of guys are happy with him right now, but the original, the original thought you had about Jon Rahm, I mean, I just got more and more respect for him, not just as a player, but as a person too. And he said, he's like, I'm exhausted, but I made a commitment. There are kids, and he's genuine, right? There are kids,
Yeah.
there are fans that come to see me, and I did not want to disappoint them. It's funny, if you were watching the telecast on Sunday when he finished his round, did you see that they put the headset on him and he called golf for like
Yeah, he
two or
did.
three holes? He was
He
phenomenal.
was
How
really
the
good.
words the words that he uses, the story is when he came to ASU, he didn't speak a lick of English, and he started picking up on it by rap music and that kind of stuff, and working, studying extra hard in class and that kind of stuff. But he is so well spoken, it just blew me away. And it's funny, when you caddy out here for as long as I do, you think you know a lot, right? And then you listen to the best player in the world talk about thought process on certain holes and that kind of stuff, and you're like, man, this guy, it's a whole nother level of thinking for a guy like Jon Rahm, who's the best player. But he was just, it blew me away. I think he is going to do. He's already done special things in this game, Matt, but I think he's really going to be one of those guys that when his career comes to an end, where nobody's going to be another Tiger, but I think he's going to be right up there with, God, he's probably going to win 20 or 30 times. Obviously he's an obvious Hall of Fame candidate, but he could be one of the greatest players that we've seen in a long, long time. It's funny. I was looking down the range today, and Davis Riley had fired Jeff Smith, and his coach, a while ago. And I've always never been. I like Jeff Smith, but I've never been a huge fan of those trackman coaches, so to speak, those computer
Yeah.
coaches, I call them. And he had Mark Blackburn working with him today, of Max Homa fame, and Ches Reavie and Justin Rose. And Mark Blackburn is one of the best on point coaches right now. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be good for Davis Riley. And I was talking to James Edmondson, his caddy. We had crossed paths just a few hours ago, actually, late this afternoon. I'm like, wow, Mark Blackburn. He's like, yeah, we brought him in for a few weeks, and I'm like, God, as good as Davis swings in. He goes, it's just for the driver, just to get the driver into play more often. And he used Jon Rahm as an example. He goes, told Davis, he goes, look at the way Jon Rahm drives the golf ball, right? He puts it in play with these big old curve. Obviously, it's predominantly a left to right curve, but he hits the fairway finder drivers and that kind of stuff. And I think that was their big thing, was they were going to give it a few weeks to try and copy Jon Rahm's driving, so to speak. So hats off to Jon Rahm. I mean, he shot a couple over, I think, the first day, and then went 66, 69, 66, and
Yeah, he
like you
played
had mentioned,
well.
yeah, he played great. I mean, he played phenomenal. He's got a nice week off this week. I don't know what his plans are after this. Oh, he plays in Mexico, the tournament that we have, a Mexico tournament that we are not playing in next week, and he's defending champ there. And I think he's probably going to get a little bit of rest after
In
that, because I think we
Vallarta.
have. Yeah, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Vallarta or Vedanta? I thought it was called Vedanta.
No, the golf course is Vedanta, but
Oh,
it's in Puerto
Vedanta.
Vallarta.
Okay, Puerto Vallarta. That's very good Spanish. So yeah, I was impressed with him for just showing up. Disappointed Rory didn't show up, and he's just a class act. He's really, really, really growing on me a lot, John. I'm really
Yeah,
growing
same
on me a
here.
lot.
I mean, these
Yeah,
past 2 weeks have done a ton. He definitely earned my respect because being out here in Scottsdale, it's like you hear all the stuff about from the country clubs and all the back channeling and everything and what people say. But to to do that in front of the public and everybody, like that was a
Yeah.
pretty big deal to me. And he
Yeah.
definitely earned my respect big time on that one. Now, we were talking about Rory and the designated events. Are the designated events working? Because I think if you look back outside of Kurt Kitayama, there's been a big
Yeah.
name that's won every single one of these big, huge events.
Yeah, I was looking at that. Jon Rahm's won 3 of them, right?
Yeah.
He won 3 of them. All that went through my mind is that's a
Scheffler
quick
won
$1 million.
two.
Yeah, yeah. Scheffler had a chance to really win Bay Hill, but he bogeyed that. He bogeyed the last hole, I think, in front of the group in front of Kitayama to open the door for Kitayama to seal that victory. But yes, I think they were a huge hit this year. I think there will be, obviously it's going to be different next year with the top 50 guys or top 60, however it is, and they're going to change up some of these events. The only, like I said before, I feel like it's going to be like the FedEx Cup, where it's going to take 2 or 3 years of tweaking and moving tournaments around and adjusting and making a lot of sponsors happy, just not a few sponsors happy, so to speak. But I think I think it went over great. I think it was well received. I think Hilton Head being a $20 million purse right after the Masters is probably something that they're going to look at. But that track is so iconic; it deserves to be a designated event. It'll never change in the schedule because that's always its spot, and that's what everybody looks forward to. So I think it was a success. I think it was a major success with a little tweaking to be done in the
I do too.
future.
I
Yeah.
couldn't agree with you more. I think that it did its job. I don't want to see it go to what they were talking about for it next year, but I do think the tweaking needs to take place a little bit, especially with right after the Masters having won, because we really need to have that break after the Masters, which it kind of stinks that
Yeah.
RBC Heritage is right after at Harbor
Yeah.
Town after the Masters. I know it's been like that, but man, it would be
Yeah.
great to see that a couple weeks later
Well,
and guys
yeah.
fresh and like ready to go. But I get it.
Yeah.
They're right next to each other. It's an easy
They are. Yeah.
travel. I mean,
Yep.
it all makes sense, right? Now with
Mm-hmm.
RBC with Harbor Town, what other
Mm-hmm.
golf courses on tour? Because I was looking at it, I was looking at it on the sim because we've got the software on it on the sim and then also Spyglass. So I was looking at those two courses. Those were probably the closest two that you guys play on tour, between obviously the Pebble Beach with having to play Spyglass one day because of how tight Spyglass is and how tiny the
Yeah.
greens are. I mean, it
Yeah.
kind of reminded me of Harbor Town, but is there
Yeah.
another golf course that
No.
reminds you of Harbor Town in that way? Because I would love to see, instead of bringing back the golf ball and everything, like, yeah, have some bomber courses throughout the year, but let's get some better golf courses that are more like
Yeah.
Harbor Town.
Yeah, I can't really. I mean, you can compare Spyglass and Harbor Town, but I don't really see any comparison in those two because Spyglass is long. Spyglass is pretty long. It is,
But it's
unless you've gone
tight.
and played. But it's nothing tight like Harbor Town. It's
Oh,
not
that's
even.
true.
It's not even close. It's actually a little bit more wide open. Have you played Spy? It's actually much more wide open than you think it is. It looks tight. It looks tight on TV. Years ago, you would classify it as more tight, but ever since they started losing to a lot of those Monterey pines to that disease, to that bug, the pitch canker disease, it's not. You don't have the overhanging trees that you have to deal with because at Hilton Head, you literally have to deal with overhanging trees almost on every single
True.
hole, which means you're trying to squeeze something left center or right center. And I mean, 13's a perfect 13. That's the short par four that you hit about a 230, 235 club off the tee. If you hit it a little bit too far left, and I'm talking about 10 or 12 yards, you miss your target one way or the other, 10 or 12 yards, depending on where the pin is, you're curving sand wedges and pitching wedges around trees. And that is that golf course all day long. It's all day long. So
Well,
I don't,
Spyglass on the sim is probably at least
mm,
10 years old. So it probably was a lot tighter on the
yeah,
simulator than what it is now due to
yeah,
that fact. I
yeah.
didn't even realize that.
Well,
So that's good
take it from a
intel.
guy who's been over Spyglass hundreds of
Yeah.
times because that's where I learned how to caddy. It is not as, eight is tight and eight is tight, but other than that, it's pretty wide open. I mean, you're talking about fairways that are 30 to 40 yards across, and at Harbor Town, you're talking about some fairways that where you want it, where your ball needs to be playable, is probably half that size. I can't think of a golf course off the top of my head that is even close. And I'm sure I'm missing one, but Sony's a little bit claustrophobic, you
So
know.
Colton Nost was
Sony,
saying
yeah,
that one. Was
yeah,
saying Sony.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, there's not many that are similar, and it's so great because you do have those trees kind of coming into
yeah,
play on your approach
yeah,
shots, and you do have to
yep,
work the ball, and you got to work it
yeah.
both ways. I mean, it leads to a great ball striker's golf course, like you were saying.
Yeah, and you know you can have some wedges and short irons out there at Hilton Head from the wrong side of the fairway where you're like, man, I got a pitching wedge in my hand and I'm pretty sure I got to take 25 feet or 30 feet when it's usually fire a flag. So those are the two tightest ones that I can think of. I always want to put those Jersey courses in there, but they're just so damn long, like Ridgewood and everything like that. But
Yeah,
you do deal with some tree issues on those old Jersey courses like that sometimes too. So those would be the two that where certain players are always going to play good, where where super bombers don't have a huge advantage. Let's put it that way. They always have an advantage, but not a huge advantage.
true. No,
Okay. All
you're
right.
spot on there, Bobby. Now
Okay.
I gotta give you your credit.
Okay.
This pains me to say, but you're on a bit of a
I
heater.
know. I
You're
am.
on a
I
bit
am.
of a
I'm
heater. You
Yeah, because I take all the
fucking
Asians,
called it
bro.
with Sungjae.
Mhm.
Damn you,
He's going
Bobby.
to win that one. He's going to win that one of these years. I'm convinced of it. I told you I had him a few years back, and he was leading on Sunday and hit one out of bounds on number 2, and never got on track. Made a double on the easiest par 5 on the PGA Tour if you hit it in the fairway, and he made a nice little run and made some bogeys. He made some bogeys late, but who did you had Cameron
Uh,
Young,
I
right?
did have
I
Cam
only
Young.
beat
He
you by.
struggled.
He finished 10 under though, didn't he? He finished 10 under. Sunday only beat him by a few shots, right?
Did he?
Yeah,
You sure?
Unless I'm thinking of Carson Young.
I think you're
There's another
thinking
one
of
that's in red.
Carson Young. Yeah, because
Okay, okay,
no, Cam he struggled. He ended up making the cut. He got to like 4 under. I think somewhere around there he kind of finished up at.
gotcha,
I didn't even look at the
gotcha.
final because of the standpoint that I knew he was out of it.
Right. Well, I was one bet away from having to send you a Zelle or Venmo, and now I've chipped it down where I'm down only 6,000 pennies. So I am not done
You are
yet.
not done.
I
You
am
are
not done
not
yet. We
done.
we have the Zurich. This is our segue into the Zurich Classic,
It
really, isn't it?
is. It
Good old New
is.
Orleans. We're in Metairie. I'm staying in downtown New Orleans. I don't. It's the food city, but I don't really go out and experiment with a lot of food. The last place I want to go is to PP Corner, I call it, because French Corner smells like PP 24/7. There's a bit of a homeless problem around here, so I'm definitely here for the golf and the Uber Eats, that's for sure. But it's one of those golf courses I said before. I just never had any luck on it. It's a TPC course. I think it was originally done by Pete Dye. So you have the angles that you deal with the fairways and kind of some hidden fairways, and it's a good golf course. I don't want to talk shit, but it's nothing special. You
Yeah.
know, it, I think it was redone by Kelly Gibson, who played on tour for a long time, who's a Louisiana guy. I don't think David Toms had anything to do with it, but it's a fun format. Let's put it that way. It's obviously it's a 2-man team where it's better ball, best ball the first day where you got to shoot, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 under, something like that. And then kind of you go to alternate shot. You really just kind of hang on in those alternate shots, don't you? And hope that your team has it going, and then they make the cut, and then you go right back to better ball again on Saturday, and then I believe you finish with alternate shot on Sunday. But I will tell you this: there are some good teams in this field. You know what I mean? You can just start with Xander and Cantlay right there. I mean, they're probably the favorites on paper. Colin Morikawa, Max Homa, Billy Horschel, Sam Burns, who've had success here. And then there's a lot of, I wouldn't call them second tier teams, but you have Sungjae and Keith Mitchell. I wouldn't really call them they're a good group. The Fitzpatrick brothers are playing. Siwoo and Tom Kim, that should be an interesting group right there, picking up right from the President's Cup where they played together and had such great finishes and some wonderful memories. Taylor Montgomery, Kurt Kitayama, even though Taylor Montgomery's a little bit off form, I think, the last couple tournaments. And then you got some teams that you don't hear of, guys that haven't played for a while. They get invited by somebody that obviously goes pretty deep. Jesus, I never really had a chance to win this tournament, and I don't remember ever really having a chance to win this tournament. And I'm shocked at how low the scores are, especially during alternate shot. But when you get the kind of talent that I just mentioned of some ball strikers and premier guys, I mean, I'm a little bit surprised. You know, the tournament director here is Steve Worthy, who was for years the tournament director at Pebble Beach, and he was the tournament director at Pebble Beach when Dustin won in 2009 and 2010, and then he left for this event. And he really does a good job of attracting, you know, a quality field considering the timing and the schedule when guys are just these designated events now, and Augusta, you know, only being played 2 weeks ago, but they bring them in, and they get some people out here. Louisiana does love its golf. I mean, the golf course kind of sits in a little bit of a swamp. It's playing soft right now. It's always quite windy here. We're supposed to have some real nasty weather on Friday, so we're waiting to see how that goes. We were hoping for, and Troy's partner is Robert Streb, who is his best friend. They actually looked quite good. They looked quite good today out there together. So Troy's putting it, you know, obviously everybody knows the deal. We're struggling. We had a chance to make the cut last week, and it went out of bounds on our 17th hole when we were safely on the cut number. So, but he hit he hit iron shots on Friday, Matt, where I haven't seen him hit iron shots in 18 months that I've worked for him. And we were talking after the round. He's like, I'm like, that was the greatest exhibition of iron shots I've seen. It just sucks that we're not playing on the weekend. And he's like, man, that was like a 60. That's usually when I shoot a 61 or 64, and it only happens about a handful of times this year. So he's you know, he's been struggling with the putter, but you know, when you say you're struggling with the putter, what is it really you're struggling with? You're probably struggling with your tee to green game, with your long game, because it puts so much pressure on your putting. And so we're putting a new putter into play this week. First time he's had a Scottie Cameron in the bag since I've been working for him. And it's kind of, I don't even know the model that it's called, but it's kind of this square triangular looking mallet thing. It's a popular putter, but you know, he just went out, and he's got so frustrated after he missed the cut that he went out and putted on Saturday at Hilton Head, which is a big step for him. He got right off the plane yesterday and went out, and he saw this putter that Ben Taylor was using that we were paired with. And he went over and he picked it up, and he just started rolling in 20 and 30 footers like they were going out of style. So we're going to give this thing a go this week and see if that's the magic trick for us to kind of work our way out of this slump right now, honestly, to tell you the truth. So I'm excited to get it going. We got to pick some teams in our bet, don't we?
We got
penny
bets to go.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We do. Okay, so you ready for this? It's most, other than LIV, this is the second most important part of our podcast. I am going to God, I want to take some long shots in here, but I am going to take, God, I hate to take some heavy favorites. I'm going to stick with my Asian connections, and I'm going to go with Kim Si-woo and Kim Tom.
Wow.
Yeah. I think this is obviously I feel like I don't want that pick. God damn it. You want to pick first? No, I'm going to stick with them. As soon as I change my bet, they're going to go Yahtzee. So I'll take the Kim brothers. Take the Kim brothers for 100, Matt.
Well, I am going to take the guy that you're going to regret not taking, along with Mr. Cashmere Sweater himself.
Oh, you're fucking.
I'm going Sungjae Im and Keith Mitchell, baby. I mean, is there a better connection between two foreigners that, and by foreigners, I mean, Sungjae Im is Korean and Keith Mitchell is American. So I don't know how they're going to talk throughout the entire thing, but I did like the PGA Tour's little promo that they did during the RBC Heritage. To where Sungjae writes a nice little, of course it was staged. I mean, Sungjae didn't even know where, I mean, not only that, but Keith Mitchell also, he didn't know where his locker was. So it's fine. It all worked out.
It was a cool little thing.
I think Sungjae's really coming into form. I mean, you tipped me off to him after the Honda Classic with you.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man.
He's definitely coming into form. Mitchell's not playing great right now, but you know, so the deal is when you caddy in these events, when it's the better best ball thing, you just do things normally like you would in a stroke play event, right? And then it's
Mm-hmm.
when you get to the alternate shot, there's a little more strategy. Who's going to tee off on the even holes? Who's going to tee off on the odd holes? Who draws the par threes? Who's the better iron player? What golf ball are you going to use? That becomes issues and that kind of stuff. And that's when the players get together more and decide a shot. And that backfired on us a couple years ago when I had Sungjae here and he was playing with Ben on the Korean Dream Team, right? And they
Oh
missed
yeah.
the cut and they missed the cut badly. They missed the cut badly and they were talking in Korean the whole time. And I told Sungjae after the week, and I'm like, he's like, what happened? And I'm like, well, it's supposed to be me and you in the best ball doing our normal thing. And then if you have a question, then you bring in your Korean friend and that kind of stuff. But when you get tour players that try and, especially with Koreans, when you get the older Korean, because the younger Koreans kind of bow down, it's a culture thing to the older Korean. So if Ben An was telling something that he thought Sungjae should hit, it totally backfired on him because I'm not saying I'm any genius, but I feel like I definitely did and do know Sungjae's game better than any other player does. That's for sure. So we'll see how that team goes. I feel very confident now that Siwoo Kim and Tom Kim are going to throttle your guys this
Oh
week because
wow.
you didn't take Cantlay and Xander. I thought you
No.
would go with the Chalks or Morikawa or Max Homa. But let's throw a little twist in it. You got your list there. I want to get another bet going.
Oh.
Let's figure out who's going to finish worse. Let's do our little live thing only with this team event here. Who's going to
Wow,
be the
golf picks
worst
but
team?
louder because it is a team event on the
Because
PGA Tour.
yes, yes. So you get to
Okay.
pick this. This one's your first pick here.
Okay, I am going to
This might take a
go.
while for you to figure this out,
Hang
right?
on, I'm looking through,
There's a lot of bad
and
teams.
I found a really solid one here.
Okay. There's a few solid ones.
I'm gonna stick with the Korean train.
You took
and,
my
and
guys.
I'm gonna go Sung Kang
God
and
damn it, you
Sang
took my
Moon
guys.
Bae.
You're gonna win that one. Okay. The only one I can fight that with is that. Oh my God, you live.
Yeah.
I wrote it down right there. See, that was going to be it right there.
Wow.
Damn
How
it.
about that? I'm
You're
pretty
a
good
good
at this
thinker.
stuff.
Okay, but here I see you and I raise you 1,000 pennies because I'm going to take DJ Trahan and Chad Collins.
Oh, that's a good one
That's a good one.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one too.
Dang.
Hey, before we jump into live, can we give our guy Spencer Levine a shout out for Monday
Oh,
qualifying on the
absolutely.
Spencer Levine? What a stud you are! Monday qualifies, conditional Corn Ferry Tour status, shoots 63 on Sunday, wins the Corn Ferry Tour by 2 shots at 20 under over Brett Druitt, moves to from conditional status to number 11 on the money list, which basically means if he has one more great week, he is a mathematical lock at 38 years old to get back to the PGA Tour. And if you don't know much about Spencer Levine, he is one of my best friends. Speaking of Spyglass, I remember I used to caddy for this longtime amateur in San Francisco, Randy Hake. He was a legend. He won everything. And this young teenager partier, smoking cigarettes all the time, Spencer Levine came into his life and would win every NCGA event. It was always these two guys in the final. And I've obviously caddied for Spence a lot. We're very close. We talk all the time. And he drank a lot back in the day. He drank a lot, and he's been sober for a few years. He hasn't smoked in a few years. He has a family now. He has so much structure in his life. Look at his face when you see all the videos that have been played the last 2 days that pop up of him blowing his top and the bags under his eyes. I was noticing this, and we were talking last night about it. And I'm like, God, you look so good, and he just looks so healthy, and he's like in such a better spot. And I got to tell you, it was all the talk out. It was all the talk out here because he is so well liked. He has the biggest heart of anybody out here by far, and it's not even close. And every player out here just couldn't be more happy that there's a good chance that Spence Levine is going to be back on this tour next year. So congratulations to you, Spence. Keep up the good work, man. We're all so
Well
stoked for
done,
you. Great
Spencer.
job. Yeah, well done.
I mean, He's a real one. I mean, he's a
Yeah,
fighter. And
yeah,
just to
yeah. He
see
is.
that go down, and now he's got status on the Corn Ferry Tour for the rest of the year. He gets to pick his
Yeah,
schedule, doesn't have to sit there Monday qualify for each tournament.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
pretty sweet for him. And I couldn't be any more happy because obviously I've got the Spencer Levine connection with the one Monday qualifier that I tried at for the BC Open way back in the day. I played with him in the
yeah.
practice round beforehand, and man, just a great dude. And even get this. So I was even talking about it with the lads at the Shads, right? Going back
Hmm.
to the guys that I play golf with quite a bit out of Mountain Shadows. And they all used to work up at Greyhawk. So that's kind of their connection as to how they all got together. And apparently Spencer Levine spent quite a while at Greyhawk, and they
Uh-huh.
used to go out with Spencer Levine all the time and party and everything. Now everybody's sober and everything, which is
Yeah,
great
of course.
to
Everybody grows
see.
up.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got to
everybody
grow up
grows
at
up
some
after all.
point. You
Yeah,
can't be a
yeah,
degenerate your entire life,
yeah.
right?
No.
So there's that sweet spot, and then
Yeah,
it becomes
yeah,
frowned
for
upon.
sure,
So
for
it was pretty
sure.
cool to hear them talk about some of the great stories and how much they love Spencer Levine as well. So just wanted to throw that
Awesome.
in there. That was kind of a little bit of 3 degrees of separation from all of us
Yeah, for
there.
sure.
Now,
Right on.
let's get into our favorite topic, which is
Yes,
LIV Golf and the upcoming
yes.
Adelaide tournament. It is at, hang on, I'm going to look at this. The Grange Golf Club.
I
I don't
think
know
it's
which one it is.
Grange.
I think it's Grange too. The Aussies will help us out there and they'll let us
Yeah,
know. But they have the mock up of the 16th hole from Waste
yeah.
Management. They're going to have a big party hole and everything. This is the biggest tournament in Live Golf's history. At
Hmm.
least that's what Greg Norman wants all of us to think. I know all the Aussie players are just absolutely pumped to be
Yeah.
playing in front of the home crowd. And I do, I think it's good. This might actually be its biggest tournament ever because of
Hmm.
that. And because it's Greg Norman and because you got Cam Smith out there, really is kind of the number 2 player in the world before he ended up heading over to Live Golf. And I just have to ask you, do you agree with that sentiment that it is the biggest golf tournament for Live?
Yeah, I do for sure. I mean, I think they're gonna. I thought I read they had 70,000 tickets go out, and they sold them immediately.
Wow.
If I'm not mistaken. So, and if I've been to Australia for golf before. It's unbelievable. It's just disgustingly good. The golf courses there. I don't think they're really in the Sandbelt, that famous Sandbelt area, but I've had experience with the Sandbelt, and I can tell you that it's just. I know that this is by far the biggest tournament that they're going to have. And we talked about it before. I'm shocked. I wouldn't be surprised after this year that they don't have 2 or 3 events over there, to be quite honest with you. And why they don't have this event as their team closing one is beyond me. Instead of,
That
obviously, it's a
I'm with you.
political thing. They have to do it for Saudi Arabia because that's who owns the whole goddamn tour, but I'm just in shock, but it's, hey, listen, their guys, a few of their guys played fantastic at the Masters. Um, I don't, you know, Brooks is obviously going to be tough again this week. Phil, I don't think it's going to have anything to do because I think what we saw at Augusta was 25 years of Phil Mickelson memorizing the golf course and knowing where to hit it. And it's institutionalized memory there, or however, whatever I'm trying to say. I heard somebody use this big word, institutionalized, but I think that's just what, Phil's one big tournament this year, and I don't think he's going to do. I don't know anything about the golf course, to tell you the truth, Matt.
I
I
don't
know
either.
absolutely. I don't know if it's
It's
tight.
behind
I don't
me,
know if it's,
but I
yeah,
don't
I
know
know
what it
that.
I have no
Yeah, I
idea.
don't
I
know
mean,
if
it
it's
looks cool.
tight. Yeah, if it's tight or it's long, or what the tricks are to it. I really don't. I don't have a clue. I'm not educated on it, but I know that this is, with their guys playing good in the Masters and them having this week. Obviously, this is a very big week from them. I did notice that Greg Norman starting to open his mouth again. This
Uh,
didn't he say something
yeah,
today?
he did. You ready for it?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Go ahead, hit
he
me.
he came out to the media and said, "We've got a long list of players who want to come in. We just don't have the ability today because players are under contract. It's incredible if you can do it in your Trump voice. It's
Yeah,
incredible." The amount of
yeah.
players who want to come on board. It would surprise you how good the names are. And it's just so funny. I died laughing when I saw that. I'm like, oh God, Greg, you just can't get out of your way, buddy. Like he is the startup CEO. And I feel bad for anybody who hasn't been around startups, because you have the startup CEOs that as the ship is sinking and everybody's watching it sink around you, they're just like,
Mhm.
oh, we're doing incredible. We're constantly busy. We have great numbers. It's incredible. Just wait for our reports. It's going to be unbelievable. We got a new product coming out that is going to blow everybody away. And yet everybody's sitting there going, dude,
Yeah.
you guys are
Shut
done. You're
up.
done.
I
But
thought they I thought they handcuffed him from talking for a
I
while,
thought
didn't
so
they?
too. They were
Well,
banning
listen,
everybody from actually
isn't
having
this
a conversation.
isn't this the same shit he said some months ago before Maya Kopany? What did he walk away with? Brendan Steele and fucking Danny Lee.
Yeah.
Right? There's no, nobody even, like I said before, nobody even talks about, nobody, there's not even two words being spoken at a PGA Tour event about LIV anymore. They're doing their thing. We're doing our thing. All the power to them. The guys seem like they got along great at Augusta. It's no big deal. It's water under the bridge. Their decisions now to most of these players out here. But I mean, why he keeps popping off is just beyond me.
Well,
It's because
that's where it's
even with
at
their
though.
yeah, but even with their guys playing good at Augusta and them having this bang up week that they're going to have this week, which is obviously going to be their most successful week revenue wise for sure, the way the Aussies like to get after it on the golf course with alcoholic refreshments. I mean, it still doesn't have the momentum or the steam that it had at this time last year, really, does it? Not to me at all. It's like,
No, no.
people don't
Be-
really give a shit,
well,
you
the
know?
only haters now, and it's funny to watch the dynamic as the PGA Tour players stop talking about it, as the Masters happen, and there's the whole peace treaty, and we're not going to talk bad about it. All of a sudden, all the haters of Live Golf are gone in terms of the
Mm-hmm,
people that hated Live Golf and what they
mm-hmm,
stood for and everything. You don't really hear from anybody anymore. But you
right.
still got on the opposite end of the spectrum. It's almost like the Live Golf side, you've got all these people still trying to criticize the PGA Tour and talk about how great Live Golf is and everything. And it's like, these are two products that of professional golf that are completely different.
Yeah,
There's no
for sure.
similarities between them.
None.
And I think both products are good. Yes, the money from Live Golf and where it all comes from puts a tarnish on it and everything, but I like the actual product that Live Golf is. I'm sad to see it kind of fade in terms of its momentum. TV
Mm-hmm.
viewership is way down even from where it was with YouTube, and it's a little bit disappointing from that standpoint. And I will say this, you also have these ridiculous statements being said by guys like Greg Norman. Now, I'm not saying that Live Golf is on a startup that's going under because they have endless amounts of money. So that is the one saving grace. But if it was a startup to where investors put a bunch of money in, the numbers alone are killing it. Like it would be done by
Mm-hmm.
now. They
Yeah.
wouldn't even have had this tournament if there were investors that didn't have endless pockets. Now, that being said, you also have Twitter accounts. And this is the
Yeah.
best part of this week, man. This is the best part. Now, I don't know, is Live Golf Insider or Live Tracking at Live Tracking on Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
is that a comedic account? Is that like
I don't. I live. I don't know. I mean, it's the
uh,
same ones that pop up on my. What do you call it on Twitter? Your timeline or something like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
this
I.
one
I
popped
mean,
up on mine.
yeah. I've randomly seen it. I've randomly seen that one before. I don't really. I know there's live hot takes and flushing it or some other ones too that throw some interesting
I
comments
probably
out
should have
there
done
that I
some
just
more
left.
research, Bobby, because
Yeah.
this one's great. So the
Tell
one that
me.
came out today says breaking at the top in alert sirens. And it
Uh huh.
says, my sources in Adelaide are telling me that the course record plaque has been removed at the Grange in preparation of Pat Perez's arrival and eventual destruction of the record.
That's a
Greg
comedic.
Greg has spoken about how well this course fits the Arizona State products game. Hashtag live golf. That has to be
Well,
comedic, right?
I
That
will
cannot
say.
be real.
That's not real. That can't be real. Too. Wasn't somebody saying that Pat Perez shot the course record in the Orange County National Pro-Am too, and you couldn't find him with the search warrant. He finished 32nd or 33rd. So fat ass himself got off to a good start in those first two events. But let me tell you why my angle would be against Pat Perez. It's because he can't fucking play in front of fucking drunk people, right? He can't handle the noise. He can't handle taking the shit. There's a reason why he never played good in Phoenix and stopped playing in Phoenix is because he's fucking soft, right? He's sensitive, right? He's not thick skinned enough to block out everything that's going around him.
We know that all
I don't
too
care.
well.
Yeah, I know. We both know that all too well. He's just kind of a piece of shit, to tell you the truth, under pressure in these kind of situations. So honestly, he with the drinking out there and the rowdiness that we saw in a President's Cup there in years past, where there are actually some fights broke out, obviously, between Patrick Reed's caddy, and there was some fisticuffs going on, and a spectator who was talking some shit. So I don't care. The Aussie guys are rooting for the Aussies, right? They're not rooting for any Americans. This is their home base. This is their golf. They're passionate about their players. They have the coolest players out there with Cam Smith and Mark Leishman. So I'm just going to say that I don't look for Perez to win. Let's put it that way. And I feel like if you flip the leaderboard upside down come Sunday night, you're probably going to find him pretty fucking quick. And in our shit bets, I almost want to pick him to be the worst player, but
it's
I'm not
shit bets. It's golf picks, but louder.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, shitty player bets. We call it shitty player bets.
Maybe, but you hit on something that I want to go back to. You talked about how he doesn't do well in front of large crowds of drunk people, especially. Yeah. Maybe that's why he's played so well in the first season of LIV Golf, because he had a pretty decent season. He finished like middle of the pack, which is good for him.
What do you mean, last year?
Yeah.
No, last year he finished like in the 30s. There's only 40 some guys. What are you talking about? He'd be like, oh, you're being sarcastic. You're like that.
Teeing it up for you.
Yeah. You are teeing it up for me. He's gonna get fucking run over. He's too fucking soft to handle drunk comments. He takes everything way too fucking personally, and when people are in the crowds, he can't fire back with his I'm rich, or I live the life of luxury. But that's his way of saying I'm actually internally a very miserable person, and this is my only way of fighting out of it. But enough about him, because I don't like fucking talking about him. So, but we're going to have some wagers on this, aren't we?
We are, but before we get to it, we do have to hit on one last thing here, which is, according to Barstool Sports, they have figured out who the burner account belongs to for @Use Golf Facts. So apparently that's a big burner account, right?
Justine Reed. It's
Justine Reed. How about that? Actually, Barstool got to the bottom of it.
Yeah, well, but they don't figure out mine.
They confirmed it, so that's pretty useful there. Now, okay, we can finally get to golf picks, but louder.
They're loud. Pepper's your dick.
Individual. Are you going with your cheat code?
Wait, is it individual or team first?
We're doing, because it's individual first. It's always individual first.
I'm taking Siwon Kim.
God damn it, man.
See how I threw in that long shot bet at Zurich to set myself up for the duck here?
Gosh, darn it, man. Siwon
You're never going to get him. He's mine.
It's a damn cheat code, Bobby. It's a damn
He's 50 over par in 3 events. I don't see him fucking getting much better.
I so badly want to go with Pat Perez, but I can't do it. I can't do it. Well, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do it because Siwon Kim is such a cheat code for you that I literally have no chance of winning this one at all. So I'm going Pat Perez.
Well, now I'm just going to surrender my 1,000 pennies, and I'm going to say that I hope you win. On to the team format. Now
I get to go first because I've been a team legend here.
Yes, you've been good
of late. And the team that I picked last time was the
Aussies.
Ripper GC, but I will not go that direction this time because I know better. I know better. They're going to actually.
They're probably going to win.
Yeah, they probably are going to.
Probably going to win.
You know what? This is a tough one. This one really gets tough, but I'm going to go with the Range Goats. It hurts me because their logo is my favorite logo that's out there. Their logo is actually sick. Like, I actually want to buy a piece of merchandise just because I like design. Like the range coat is just a cool fucking look. And then the hot pink with the black, it's pretty dope.
Is that Bubba Watson's team? That's Bubba Watson's team and Harold Varner, and I don't know who else is on it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm torn in between. I keep thinking this Kevin Na team really sucks dick, right? So I'm between the Kevin Na team, and I kind of want to throw in the Mickelson, Steely, Danny Lee team too, because maybe they would lose their patience on this golf course. But I'm going to stick with the Kevin Na team.
Do you even know what team name they are?
No, I have no idea. I know the Acers.
Phil's part of the High Flyers.
I gotcha. Well, I'm not picking them.
Know what that means.
What's Kevin? What's the Kevin Na's team?
Ironheads.
Okay, I'm going to take the Ironheads. I am a creature of habit. I pick the same guys over and over and over. You know what I wanted to bring up too with LIV was the guy that you bet on to be worst. Some tournament, Jediah Morgan, Jediah, get the Ochi out of the barn. Did you hear what he popped off and said a few days ago on social media?
No.
That he's frustrated with LIV because the scheduling is only 14 events and he's not. It's tough to be a young guy and get into form when you're not playing 2 or 3. And I agree with this. But the fact is, Jediah Morgan, you played over here a few events. You got your ass kicked. You were never close to making a cut on the PGA Tour. He should just shut the fuck up and take the money that he's making, because the fact is he is not that good, right? He's a great player, but he's not that good on the scale of great players, right? And he is probably on the fast track to get relegated. And when you pop off something like that, when somebody's padded your bank account the way that Norman or the Saudis padded his bank account, whatever they gave him, I have no idea, but he's making a minimum 150 grand a week. He should just shut up. And I think that was a comment that he's going to regret in the future. Let's put it that way.
You know what? I actually made a big mistake on just now was picking the range goats.
Yeah.
I'm actually not thrilled with that pick, and I'll explain why, because I forgot that Thomas Peters joined them recently.
Yes.
He was a recent convert. So that's actually
can't
not
change
a great
now.
pick out of me. I'm not changing.
And I will say this.
I'm not changing. I'm not fucking leaving, Bobby.
to make you feel even worse, when I was there for the World Cup with Siwoo, Thomas Peters and Thomas Dietrich won that World Cup in Australia. So he's won in Australia before.
Can't wait.
So yeah.
Well, you might be. I mean, you've been on a heater. You could be down to 2,000 pennies after this week.
I know. And our running, we got that little Cameron Young, Wyndham Clark running back. That should pick up again, I guess, in Charlotte probably in a couple of weeks.
I was about to ask you too. If Wyndham and his teammate win, I don't even know who his teammate is. Actually, I do, but
that doesn't count for me.
Okay.
Or does it? No, it does count for me, because technically he would pop his cherry.
Win?
Yes. Yeah, he would pop his cherry.
That actually counts as a PGA Tour win?
Yes, it counts as a PGA Tour win. Those guys go to Maui. They split FedEx Cup points. Yes, they become in the winner's bracket. Yes.
But isn't it only half a win? Oh, he's with Bo Hostler. Yeah.
He
actually has a chance.
I think I don't know about that. Bo a little cuckoo upstairs. I don't know about that. But I would think technically it would count a win for me, because he would pop his cherry before Cameron Young. Yeah.
I'll give that to you. If he wins with Bo Hostler, I'll give it to you.
That's nice of you. Yeah, they're not going to win, bro. We both know that.
But you can get down to 1,000 pennies.
It's not going to happen.
Sounding like a freaking racetrack gambler, huh?
Yeah, I know. It's not going to happen. You know that. I'll be like
one more 1,000 pennies. If you create one more bet, you could end up wiping it clean.
No, I'm not going to do that. You could. I also have to pay too. I'm going to go 50-50.
Do you want to pick the winner of LIV Golf Adelaide, since it's the biggest event?
No at all. I like the way we do it right now. It's the highlight of my week.
I do too, actually.
All right, I got an early pro-am tomorrow.
You do, Bobby. Don't be a whiner.
Okay.
You did great
Shut
tonight.
Up, Lori. Thanks, buddy.
Hey, let's have a great week, huh? What do you say?
Let's have a good week. Thanks, Matt. Take care.
Thanks,
everybody.
Bobby.
I'll see you soon, buddy.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Season 2 of the Pull Hook Golf Podcast. Make sure to hit subscribe and go to www.pullhookgolf.com for more information.